Clyde Tabor with the Mission Media University, and we're doing a really short little introductory thing on story, and in particular, how to do a story with the end in mind, or in Jeremy's words, what is my final image? So Jeremy is a story guru. He, amongst many things, he's a published author. He is the co-director at the Los Angeles Film Studies Center in Los Angeles, with a great office with the Hollywood sign behind him. Jeremy's a friend and a partner on a number of things that we've done over the years together. So Jeremy, just comment just briefly, if you're doing story, whether it's written or oral or filmed or other, why is this final image so very important?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I try to drill home with my students all the time, and it's something that I think creatives resist at the very beginning. Anytime you start talking about structure and thinking about how to map out your story, artists always are like, oh, I want to write from the heart. I want it to just come from, this beautiful natural place, but we need some structure. And one of the things that I tell my students to do is to know your ending before you begin. I liken it to going to a meeting, Clyde. I'm sure you've never had this issue where you go to a meeting and you walk in and you sit down and you're like, I don't know if this is going to be a 20-minute meeting or a 4-hour meeting. I have absolutely no idea. And when we step into a situation like that, we experience uncertainty and it makes us uncomfortable. And the truth is, when we sit down to listen to a story, we have the exact same reaction. At the very beginning of the story, what we're actually asking the author to do is, tell me when I know the story is going to be over. Give me the finish line. And once we have that finish line planted in our minds as an audience, and we know, okay, the ending is going to look like the athlete holding the trophy, or the ending is going to look like Frodo dropping a ring into some fiery pit somewhere. If we know that, then we can move forward comfortably into the story knowing I will know when this narrative is over. And so it actually gives us a framework that we can operate from as an audience member. So that's the first thing. I think that's one of the most important things, is just you actually tell your audience the ending of your story at the very beginning, or you set it up, you hint at it. So that's
so what do you do, Jeremy, when you get scripts, because you teach students, and you go, okay, they've put, it's maybe a short story, it's a long story, and they don't have that clear image. I mean, once you've already developed a story and you don't have that, what advice do you give?
I usually we'll go back to theme first of all and see what we need to do with the character, because oftentimes if an audience doesn't have their final image, they weren't, or the writer, if the writer doesn't have their final image, they weren't ready to write the story from the very beginning. So oftentimes what it means is, if you don't know the final image of your story, there's a good chance you actually don't even really know the plot of your film, because that final image is all about wrapping up the plot. That final image is the answer to the question, did my character solve the problem that they were trying to solve in the story? And so we want this final image. We want the whole journey, the whole thing the character's trying to do in a story. We want it to be very visual. We want it to be defined through cinematic action. One of the things, Clyde, that happens a lot with students is when they're pitching me their stories and they're giving me their story idea, they'll get to the end of the story and they'll say, and then the character realizes something, or and then the character learns something. And every time a student does that, I always stop them and I say, how can I can't see a character learn something. I can't see a character realize something. What you need to do is you need to give your character some photographable, tangible, physical action that I can see them do, that demonstrates they have learned something or they have realized something. I'm sitting right now realizing things, Clyde. I'm learning things right now, but it's not very cinematic and it's not very interesting to look at. Exactly. The whole goal of cinema, the whole goal of visual storytelling is, how do I get what's happening internally inside my main character out so I can photograph it, I can interact with it, and I can make it interesting. So that's really the heart of visual storytelling.
Okay, put you on the spot. So is there a film that people would be more commonly acquainted with that does this well? Like, does something come to your mind?
Well, I always use the Lord of the Rings example, because at the very, I mean, that whole series is what, about 11 hours long, that entire cinematic experience. And at the very beginning of the first film, we're basically told what the ending is going to look like. So it's, yeah, we got to destroy this ring in the fires of Mount Doom, and Frodo, you're going to do it. So from the very beginning, we have this, we already are starting to formulate a picture of what the ending is going to look like. This is why sports stories work so well, because sports stories almost always involve a trophy, and trophies are cinematic. I can take a picture of it. I don't have to hear a character say, I won. All I need to do is see them, an image of them holding a trophy triumphantly at the end of the story, and I got it. I got the ending. This is why marriage proposals work so well in cinema, because a marriage proposal is so visual. If I see a man get down on his knee and propose to a woman, or I just see him on his knee holding up something in his hand, at a woman, under the stars or at a restaurant, I know what's happening. It's a cinematic action that has imbued with it deep meaning, and I don't need words. And that's what we want to do in visual storytelling.
Love it. Super helpful. Thank you. So we'll keep it really sweet and short. Appreciate you, Jeremy. Jeremy is our instructor for our Mission Media U course entitled Introduction to Story in Ministry. So that course begins next Wednesday, September 19th. It's actually taught online, but we have a live cohort. And so you meet people from multiple other countries. You have assignments each week. Yeah, you get mentoring from Jeremy throughout the course. You can go to missionmediau.org and look at the course button to find out more. But that's next Wednesday, September the 19th. That's where we begin. You can register and begin early because we want you to do some prep for that first live session. Again, missionmediau.org, and then just look on the course button. Any final thoughts, Jeremy?
I always say that, writing is scary, writing is hard, but writing is so worth it. And writing and storytelling is a skill that you can learn. It's not something that's just a natural talent that people have. If you want to become a better storyteller, you can learn how to become a better storyteller.
And that's why we call it story in ministry, because whether you are telling story, writing story, filming story, acting story, preaching story, whatever drama story, the baseline elements that make story work across all of those platforms are essentially the same. And so Jeremy is an expert at kind of elaborate on that and help you do that. And so again, and your assignments are actually structured to what kind of a story you want to do. And so again, if it's written or oral or other. So anyway, we try to customize it for you. So that'll be all for now. Thank you.